what's happening, gang gang since potty train, all that. I am your host, King Ralph. You are now watching Juke Boy Sports Show, and I'm here with the homie.
Kai, what's good? The homie, hanging with the homies, That's how we
Always hang
go.
with the homies, because it ain't no fun if the homies can't
Have
have.
some.
Rob, what's good with you?
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo, in here. All right. Before we get going, send a little shout out to the sponsors, even though we ain't been in the studio in a minute, but shout out to them. If you want to do any photo shoots, music videos, podcasts like what you're watching, call them on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fitboxer. And make sure you follow all our socials. You can find me at TikTok, Instagram, Twitch. At KYNGRALPH, add an underscore for Twitter. Make sure you follow our personal Instagram itself at J.U.K. Sports Show on Instagram. Like, subscribe, share, show some support for Facebook, YouTube, the He Say She Say All One Word channel. Make sure you follow Kai for any
House of Hoops.
news, updates, highlights, breakdown. He gives us analysis. It's actually really good. He shed some light on me. It educated me on Rudy Gobert not being a defensive liability like everybody thinks he is. And I was skeptical until I watched the tape. Tape don't lie. So make sure you tune into that. But before we get jumping, not before, but since we end this thing, is playoff baseball is here. Now, my team is not in it. Actually, neither one of my teams, Chicago, is just not in it at all. So I haven't really been that interested to keep it a buck in the season itself. I seen the Padres. The Padres are someone that I think is like, they have all the talent in the world, but for some reason they just don't ever put it together.
They might be cursed.
Right? And then it's like you got the Dodgers. The Dodgers got the best team money can buy, literally. So for me, man, who you got winning the World Series though? Who's your best bet?
Well, you know me. I've always had this infatuation or this love for the West Coast, even though I'm the East Coast brother. You know what I'm saying? Even though I love my East side, but I came up Laker fan, all that. No longer Laker fan, but Tupac, all that. But I got to roll with the Dodgers, man. I'm going with the Dodgers. It's like, oh man, the easy pick. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I'm going with the Dodgers because, like you said, they have the best roster that money can buy. They have Clayton Kershaw. I believe that they have a historic roster where they have guys where they're set up where they can actually repeat, even though, if I'm not mistaken, Ralph, the last team to repeat in the World Series was the Yankees. All those days back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I know some people want a 90s World Series. They want Braves. They want Astros. They want Yankees. But I'm going with the Dodgers, man. They have contact hitters. They got depth. They got coaching. They got pitching. They won over 111 games. Historic roster, MVPs, the whole nine. And they finally got over that hump before. So I think this year they're going to be able to go back to the promised land. And I think they're going to bring a chip to LA because that will be the only championship that an LA sports team will win this year. But anyway, we'll get into that later. Sorry, LeBron, LA Bron, and sorry, my boy Kawhi. But yeah,
I feel it, man. I definitely agree with you, G. Like, I think that, that's why I said they got the best team money can buy, bro. They just got a plethora. They got pitching, all types of hitting, power on base, still in base, gold gloves. Like, it's just a fully loaded squad. So, like, it's really, I think, really, what does I hate to say it? I think the Yankees.
Okay.
Yankees or the Mariners have the best chance of being a team that could beat that team. Like I said, the Padres definitely could beat them, but it's just always something with them. Like, they have all types of young stars on that team, and they just don't ever play well when it needs. Someone always, it's like, what's it? Tatis. him and the steroids, bro. Like he keep getting suspended for stuff. Like I want to pick them because I'm just a fan of them, but that would be like my biased pick.
Mm.
So I definitely think the Dodgers have the best chance. But if I had to pick two teams that to finish out second and third, I say the Mariners and the Yankees.
And the Yankees. Okay, those aren't bad picks. You know what I'm saying? When you think about the type of crowd that Seattle has out there, and you
Yeah,
think of the Yankees, and they also have that height advantage with guys like Aaron Judge, and they have giants. You know, they also have a huge payroll as well. So I think that when you look at the Yankees, if we're talking about, like we said, teams, that the last team that repeated was the Yankees, you know, a long time ago. So hey, it's not a bad pick, man.
nah, I don't know. And so on to the next one. On to the next one. His pops was in some controversy over the weekend, but we're not focusing on that.
Yeah.
Folks, who's been balling out,
Mhm.
is putting up crazy amount of points. But the team as a whole is playing very well. But now it leads you to the question: should Shador Sanders be a Heisman candidate? I'm gonna let you cook first.
You know, I really had to think about this. And I really wanted to, kind of hear what Dion said because Dion is his father. And Dion made some really great points, and that's why I made sure I had my quotes today, the quotable, and I actually believe he should be because he said that it's based off production. And he wanted everyone to know that he's not saying this because it's his son. He's like, no, he's like, you have to understand. He's like, location doesn't determine destination. I was like, oh, I
Right.
was like, oh,
You
he's like,
always
your
got
location. Yeah.
you always got quotables.
Oh yeah, I know, right? Yeah, but he said location doesn't determine your destination. He's like, you don't think that Travis Hunter and Shador and all these other players could have been playing at other schools, right? Because Travis Hunter was, I believe it was FSU. We talked about
Right.
Deion Sanders' alma mater, which he wound up, joining Jackson State. But we're here to talk about Shador, and if we look at it, then Shador is top 5 in the FCS in 8 different passing categories. He's second in completion percentage, fourth in touchdown passes with only 1 interception, third in Heisman. The third, Steve McNair, excuse me, actually finished third in Heisman voting in 1994. So it can be done. And then you look at the Heisman is based off of production, and that's what Dion was saying. He's like it's production based, and you can't just say, oh, it's you guys are beating up on weak teams. He's like, no, we're dominant, and they're dominating their opponents. So much so that hence the little thing that happened midfield, you know what I'm saying? Because they were dominating the opponent. So I think that if the Heisman committee were to come out and say no because of X, Y, and Z, I don't see anything in fine print that should what's that word, Ralph? That should halt him, impede him, et cetera, Shadur from being able to at least have consideration for the Heisman. Now, do I think that he would win the Heisman this year? Me personally, no. But then again, anything's possible. But I think that Dion is what he's trying to do is shed light. And so
Right.
maybe this will let people over time, even if he's not a candidate or whatever, be like, hey, maybe we should look at it because they have looked at it in the past. I just don't feel like it's been frequently. I think we're looking at, other players at the Bamas, at the Oregons, at the Clemsons and all that. So if I'm just looking at pure numbers and statistics and production, then I think that he should be a candidate. But let's not just label it towards him, but also look at other players from other schools and stuff like that. So maybe they need to expand the pool. I don't know.
I agree, man. For me, I'm gonna start off with I think if you look at it from with an unbiased view, it just
Mhm.
looks off numbers. It's hard to argue against. But then when you
Yeah.
start taking into consideration strength of schedule and all of that, like that's where a let's just say, all right, so we got Shador has 17 touchdowns, Bryce Young has 14.
Mhm.
You start to look at how many where Bryce Young was hurt for a game,
Mm.
who he's playing against, and how he's playing against them. So, but when you look at Shador's numbers as like a whole, and it compare him to I'm trying to think what website did I see this on. I think it was according to Anscape,
Okay.
anscape.com. Um, I got the top five. Um, whoever has the best odds to win the Heisman. And so we got. I'm putting Shadur Sanders' numbers up against C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams from USC, Hendon Hooker from Tennessee, Bryce Young, Alabama, and Dorian Thompson Robinson, who's balling out for UCLA right now. And so he's right in the mix. He's probably second or third if you was going to put his numbers up against, because CJ Stroud is balling out like crazy right now. But Shadur has 205 passing attempts, but he's completing 73% of his passes for over 1,700 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions.
That's crazy.
So if you were to look at his numbers, Stroud has way less. He's 45 less attempts, but 24 more yards. So he's at over 1,700 yards, 24 touchdowns, but he has 3 interceptions.
All right.
So and plus he's only completing 70.6% of his passes. So look at those numbers, and that's the cream of the crop. He's bested him in certain categories, but it's like in the end, who Ohio State plays,
it's different.
The strength of schedule is going to be stronger than who they're going to play. But then there's really only certain people that have better stats than him.
That's true.
When it comes to touchdowns, he's second on this list. I'm not talking about it in this position, but on this list.
Is that just passing touchdowns?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just passing touchdowns. I think he has rushing too, or something like that. So yeah.
Talking about throwing the ball.
Oh, throwing the ball. Okay. Yeah.
And so that's not even to take into consideration that he's a dual threat quarterback. Now, is he Lamar Jackson, Michael Vick? No. But he moves well.
All right.
And so when you start to look at the big picture, the name itself, I think he could benefit from the fact that his dad is prime. But also at the same time, they're probably going to look at it and be like, but he plays for HBCU.
Exactly. Yep.
That's the thing that sucks. So I disagree with the fact. I hate that even has to be a topic of conversation.
Yeah.
But it just is what it is at the end of the day. And
it's just not right now.
Out there and ball out.
Yeah.
And just let the cards fall where they may. Because
definitely.
I think there'll be some people that would not want to take him. Like in the draft.
It could be like a Malik. Go ahead.
But if you go out and dominate,
I
don't see why.
I heard somebody, Ralph, actually make a really good point that I was listening to about like the whole Shadur Sanders situation. And I actually they said, they could see him potentially getting drafted in like a Malik Willis situation. And look at and now we still have yet to see, what's that going to be in the NFL level. We've seen the flashes in preseason. It just comes down to obviously whoever the head coach's name, his name off the top of my Mike Vrabel, if he ultimately moves him in past Tannehill, maybe next year or maybe at the end of the season, depending on how the season plays out. But we got a chance to see Malik Willis at liberty and ball out and do things of that nature. So, and people said that he has a ceiling. It's just going to the right team and putting a team around him and things of that nature. So obviously we're not quite there yet with Shadur, but we can see there's the potential, and like you said, let's play it out and see maybe, where the cards fall where they may, man. So yeah. So
I can see in a situation, just to ask a quick question. Before we go to the next topic. Has nothing to do with the topic itself, though. But with Malik Willis, how long do you wait to give him his chance?
Right now, the division is horrible, bro. I'm giving him the chance like that. Like I'll give it to you like this. As soon as it took Mike Tomlin, what was it, 4 weeks, whatever? Like if the Titans lose next week or whatever, I'm putting Malik Willis in.
Okay.
Because and the reason why I say that before we move on is because me and you and everyone else who watched the playoffs last year, he was the single reason, Ryan Tannehill, that literally cost him that game. That defense won the game, and they have a ceiling. They haven't been able to get past the AFC Championship game or divisional round with Tannehill. They were a 1 seed, and he's just not that guy. It's all. You know what I'm saying? I think Malik Willis gives them a new dynamic, new wrinkle that they don't have. That's it.
See that? I can see that because I definitely think it'll be one of those things we hear it all the time in different sports, but it's kind of like that breath of fresh air.
Yeah, you need to change sometimes. Breath of fresh air. Yeah.
Part because then his ability to move out of the pocket,
Mm-hmm.
the rocket of an arm that he has.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
It just gives you a little bit something different that could juice up.
Yeah.
The team, as well as if you got someone like a Derrick Henry that you can turn around and give the ball to.
Right. That's why I'm mad they got rid of AJ Brown too, because he would have been perfect with them. But anyway, go ahead.
But then also you got his ability to run the ball himself. So if you put him in a RPO situation where it's Derrick Henry that he's handing it to, but then also he can take off for 30 yards.
Yeah.
Puts you at a spot where it's like it compromises the defense. But I can see it. I was curious though. I just wanted to ask because like, do you see a situation where he sat like Aaron Rodgers? Do you think it's like the days of that happening to quarterbacks is long gone?
I think the days of happening to quarterbacks is long gone because I don't know if you heard, and I had to look into it, but apparently people are talking about, is there a quarterback controversy now in New England with Mac Jones and the backup quarterback who like nobody knew, right? And he comes in and he's performing well. So I think that coaches are making more quick fire decisions because I guess management and organizations are more, I guess you could say their patience is limited. It's either the patience is limited or like we always say, and you've always talked about this, philosophies and the league is changing. The league is different than it was just 5 years ago. So I think now the prevalence of the dual threat quarterbacks, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, what's the other dude's name? Jalen Hurts. Yeah, Jalen Hurts. Shout out to him. And then even not the same ilk, but he can run and move. Kenny Pickett has legs. If you look at him in college, he had legs. So I think just because that is what's in right now, I think what's in is also going to become the norm. And I think that's going to benefit Malik Willis. So like you said, me personally, I don't think that he should or is going to be waiting but so long unless the coach just doesn't like him, but you drafted him. So
right. For sure. I can see it. It just depends on how well, because I haven't really been paying attention to them. I've really only watched the game where they played the Raiders. And
Henry's been going off. Henry's been going off recently.
Yeah, but Henry was like, we just couldn't stop Henry. That's the only reason we lost that game.
Mm-hmm.
But on to the next one. On to the cheat code himself. So we've been seeing tape. I've heard about the homie, and I finally got to see some actual tape, some good competitive basketball.
Yeah.
With Bayamba, a cheat code.
Absolutely. And the way you were smiling, the way I was smiling, bro, like he brings a joy to my face as a basketball fan too. You know, someone who plays the game, enjoys the game. He's a cheat code because I think any of us who've played 2K, any of us who played the old NBA lives, have created a player literally that was the tallest, the fastest, and could shoot from all three levels. You know what I'm saying? I think he's a cheat code, man. I was talking to shout out to Tar and other homies as well. I said I had when I was a kid, like second, third grade, I played like NBA Live, like 2000 or something, where you had to unlock MJ. You had to beat him one-on-one to unlock him. And the only way I could do that is if I created a player who was 7 foot and played like Victor. I couldn't use KG or any of these other players because the AI would lock up. So I look at Victor, man, and like you said, when you look at the film, you have a 7'4" dude he's like, hey, come here, like looking like LeBron walking down, with the ball in his hand. I'm like, what? Bringing the ball up the court? Oh, he has the Kobe little hezzy, the fade. I'm like, and it's smooth, like, and I'm not saying you're doing this or anyone, but there's going to be haters. Anyone who's trying to downplay what he's doing, dude, we've never seen this before.
Oh, for real, for real.
His stroke is fluid.
Yes.
His timing on shot blocking, he's not just shot blocking because he's tall. He has timing. He has a handle. He goes up strong with his dunks. He's not all weak. He stares people down. And I think that he has a good head on his shoulders from what he said after the game. He was actually quoted with saying that he doesn't care about off the court and social media stuff. He says that when Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy asked him what's something, an area of weakness or something that he's trying to work on, he said actually it's just getting his like his kind of his conditioning up so he can play longer 9 to 12 minute intervals. He said he got kind of tired, but that's one area that he says he's trying to continue to work on, obviously. And he looks up to Giannis and KD the most. He said those are his two favorite players, period, Giannis and KD. However, he said, I'm not trying to be like any player in the league. And he's interested in playing for the French national team in Paris. So we got to get out to Paris, bro, in 2024 for the Olympics next year. So yeah. What I saw from him, and I'll swing it to you, bro, was it was incredible, man. He's what, 19?
Yeah.
He's only 19, and this is against G League, so not 14, Penny Ante, 15, 16. This is G League people. You know what I'm saying? So I enjoyed it. I loved it. I am a fan. I'm glad I finally got to see tape on him, see game on him, and I'm going to try to do everything in my power to learn and watch as much as Victor as I possibly can. So what was your first impressions and overall impressions, man?
He won his 18.
18. Oh, wow.
18. He will turn 19 in January.
Oh, so he still got a little ways.
Yeah.
A couple months.
So, like, for me, man, like this is crazy. He's like a combination of Giannis
and KD.
KD. And at 7'3", 7'4", bro, like,
yeah.
That's unfair. Like how? Like how? That's so crazy, bro. Like 7 foot
footwork.
With footwork, a dribble, block shots. Like that's crazy. Crazy long arms. Like it's to answer the question. Yes, he is definitely the cheat code.
Yeah.
Like they be throwing out this whole unicorn like nickname. Like they throw that joint out like fresh bag of chips, bro. But he really is the unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
Where like everything that he's able to do, I just don't see the crazy part is like, did you get a chance to pay attention to Scoot?
No, Henderson? I didn't.
Scoot Henderson.
I saw like a highlight or so, and he looked good. But I'm not gonna. I will never sit up here and tell someone that I like. I literally just sat down and watched all of it because I was pretty much watching the hype of Victor. So I only saw a few highlights like spin lay, all that of Scoot. So if you saw him, definitely break that down if you want to as well, man. Because I heard he looked great.
Like
okay,
see how old he is.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe they're going to be in the same class.
Yeah, but I actually believe so as well.
He's much younger than Victor.
Okay.
Like almost to the day. But he plays for the G League Ignite right now. And he's cold, bro. I like his change of pace, his control for the game. He puts up buckets. He's a bucket getter. I think that he's someone that could end up being just a game changer, a franchise changer. I don't know if he's like one of those when they say generational players. I still think that he's a budding superstar. Just give him the opportunity. So like it sucks that when you got like a Victor Wembanyama, that's just gonna take the shine away from you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when it's someone that's like they calling this man the alien,
right?
It's only so much you can do at the end of the day.
Hey Ralph, I'll give you one comparison now. They're two different players, even two different players from Victor and Scoot. But I'm glad you brought that up to kind of to piggyback off what you said. Remember the Zion Williamson and Ja Morant draft. I know you favorable to Zion, even though you still like Ja, and I was favorable to Ja. And I remember during the draft, Maria Taylor, I believe, and some other people were interviewing Ja Morant, and they kept asking about Zion. Now, in their defense, they were AAU teammates, but that whole night was more about the shine of Zion. And I'm like, yo, like it's Ja's night too. It's all these other people in the lottery's nights as well, and their families are there. You should always ask them questions about themselves as well. So I know it's not draft night, but I get what you're saying when you talk about like the shine, because everyone is going to be talking about Victor, and you have this guy named Scoot, who also is projected to be to be drafted and play well at the next level if everything goes, well. I think the only cause for concern, and maybe you have it too, but he looked good. He doesn't look frail, super frail thin like a Chet Holmgren. Chet looked frail. I'm sorry. We said that, don't wish injury on anybody, but is always, being that anatomically tall, like people say, you're not technically supposed to be that big anatomically or whatever. Risk of injury, knees, back, etc. So knock on wood, we're praying thus far that Victor.
That's the one that like
exactly
like Chet, too frail foot.
He just looked too frail to begin with to me, man.
Big was just too big for that height. His foot. Bull had foot injuries that kept keeping him out.
Yao Ming too. Back in the day, was always that foot.
So it's like I just hope he's able to stay healthy, because as a person that just loves basketball, bro, like I just want to see like, yo, this is gonna be crazy if he can reach his potential. Like just certain players like Apollo Banchero, like with the all around offensive game. Then you got like it would have just been dope to see Derrick Rose get to where, or Penny Hardaway get to where they, like Brandon Roy, Greg Oden. As much as people try to bash him, like only reason he didn't get good was because his injuries.
Yeah, because he could do a lot.
Player.
Yeah.
So, because when he actually did get an opportunity to shine, but he balled out. It just was he couldn't stay healthy.
Do you remember that? If that what player you favored more to go number one in that draft, was it KD or Oden? For you,
I think KD.
See, okay, I was KD too. I just love the way he got buckets at Texas, man. But Oden was a problem on them boards, man.
I was like, first off,
you
have that is 6'10" or 7 foot. I forget how tall they said he was at the time. But just thinking about it, just someone that tall,
right,
that could just make pull up. I don't care who's in that draft with him.
Right,
I'm taking him.
That was a Beasley draft too, I think. I could be wrong, but Beasley
was Derrick Rose draft, and obviously I'm gonna say Derrick Rose.
Yeah. That whole both of them drafts is crazy.
All in college though.
Yes, K-State.
Yeah, he was a double. He was 20 and 10, like 25 and 10,
bro. One of the greatest freshman years like ever. Him, KD, Zion, all of them averaged like 25 and 10, bro.
Yes, like it's wild.
Yeah.
But hey, on the week five just wrapped up, and I gotta tell a story.
All right, story time by Ralph.
After Sunday night, I'm down by like 65.
What? Man, I gotta hear this.
But I have Daniel Carlson, Josh Jacobs, and Travis Kelce.
Solid. Josh Jacobs.
I found a way to win by 1 point.
What?
Kelce had 26.5 points.
Wow.
Josh Jacobs had 25.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel Carlson had 16.
Wow.
Bro, I don't know how, but I called it though. Me and my brother were talking. And I was like, yo, I'm down by like 65. I was like, but I'm still gonna win though. But
right.
I'm down by 65. I just had this feeling like we're finna run the ball, so Josh Jacobs gonna get his.
Right.
We're never able to stop Kelce. I don't know what it is, bro. We just can't stop Kelce. and Daniel Carlson is a great kicker. So
Yeah.
I'm finna get buckets. But week 5, man. Takeaways from week 5. I'm gonna jump in on this one.
Yes, set it off, man.
I got some today, and the NFC East. I just formally want to apologize. We got Cowboys 4-1, Eagles 5-0, Giants 4-1. Not gonna talk about the Commanders, but when you got 3 teams that are 4-1 or better,
Yeah.
you got to give your props up to them. The NFC East, and then they're beating teams.
All right.
So it's like I haven't really got a chance to watch the Giants play. The one time I did, it wasn't nothing. Like they look good, so like I was like, I think we're more pretenders than real contenders. But I think the Eagles and Cowboys. I'm not saying the Cowboys can win a Super Bowl, but with a defense that good, you're gonna be in games.
Be in games, right?
So like I think right now, like trading in a Cooper.
Cooper Rush?
No, the wide receiver.
Oh, Amari Cooper. Okay. Oh, my bad. You said trading. My bad. I thought you were talking about. Yeah. Okay.
Trading Amari Cooper, like I think, hurts your offense when it comes to putting up points. You're not going to trade him and then put up more points than you were when you had him, especially where CD doesn't have to be the guy. Then you got a 3-headed monster to a certain degree with Gallup.
Right, because Gallup just came back. So I'm like, man.
Like, if they can, they're holding team. All you got to do is get to 20, 21 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to put up crazy numbers.
Right.
But next point. Watching last night's game, it hurt.
Yeah.
It hurt to a certain degree.
It's a good game, though.
I'm a fan, and I know my team.
Okay.
The difference between like being someone that's a pretender and being a real contender is how you handle situational football. And the Raiders, the difference between the Raiders and the Chiefs, every time when I tell people that I'm willing to put money on the Raiders, they look at me like I'm crazy. It's not like if you look at the team and put them on paper, they're evenly matched. When we play the games, even though we can't stop Kelsey, we play them very tough.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rare they beat us by more than a touchdown.
Yeah.
And so then on top of that, when you watch how the Chiefs handle those situations, when it's vital, you gotta come through, or like you can't make a mistake. They don't beat themselves. Ever since they lost to the Patriots on that penalty, they don't beat themselves anymore.
Yeah.
Because then you got where I want to say it was 23-24 at this time. And then we hold them to a field goal. And then we get a penalty where they get an automatic first down. Like that can't happen. Because then you give up a touchdown where he missed the field goal.
Mm-hmm.
Like he literally missed the field goal. You're getting the ball back. And then you give them a penalty. You give them the ball back with a fresh set of downs. Like that can't happen.
Right.
And you get a thing where we gave all this bread to Devontae Adams. I understand why it was called a drop pass. Mm-hmm. But I've seen so many people where it's like, yo, he's bobbling the ball. But he got too down. But I think it's because of like the situation that their rivals, certain calls was going certain ways, or they weren't calling certain stuff. So I think that they just decided to call it by the letter of the law. But I'm just like, bro, I've seen give people receptions for stuff just like this.
Yeah. So
then Devontae Adams is going to catch that 9 times out of 10. He just dropped it in the moment where then it's like, how many times have you seen Devontae Adams is known as the best wide receiver in football. Him running into Hunter Renfrow while running routes on the 4th and 1, bro.
That was wild. I've never seen him run that was some of that Ravens stuff that they was doing, man, when they run into each other back in the day, back like last year.
It hurt me.
Yeah, I've never seen that
See
before,
that. On fourth down,
bro.
we just lost the game because of it.
Bro, that was wild.
How you handle situational football
Yeah.
is one of those things that that's really the mark of a champion. And
Mm.
last but not least, I think people need to realize styles make fights
Mm.
because, like I said, people always talk about how we're trash, the Raiders are trash, or they finna get blown out by the Chiefs, and we're
Right.
always in the game. But then styles make fights because you've seen the Chiefs just dominate the Buccaneers. But would you say that the Buccaneers or the Raiders are a better team than the Buccaneers?
I think the Raiders are actually a better team. That's just me.
I feel like you're a little different.
I know, but maybe it's because the only reason why I say it is because I think their offense is better than so the Bucks defense is better, period.
Yeah.
But the Raiders have Crosby, and then offensively, you guys should be better than the Buccaneers. It's just that coaching is the reason why you're not. If that makes sense, because I
Yeah.
think that the Bucks at some point is just like their offense just isn't really good. It's Leonard Fournette and a bunch of injured receivers, and Brady's old. That's it.
Right.
But I get where you're coming from. I'm just a little slightly contrarian on that situation. I guess you could say whatever. I see things a little different.
I
Yeah.
get it. I feel it.
Yeah.
I ain't mad at you. But yeah, styles make fights, man. I think at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it just depends on who's playing who and when they play
Right.
this team. And so, for me, I'm not it makes it kind of hard to judge
Mm-hmm.
because it's you'll like last year, everybody would have thought the way that the Rams was running through teams,
Yeah.
nobody would be able to touch them. But then they just couldn't beat the 49ers until it
Mhm.
really
Right.
and so it's where the 49ers will look like a regular team to someone, they'll smash the Rams every time.
Yeah.
So then it's but they don't show that same amount of dominance against every team. So then
Mhm.
it's hard for you to pick them because it's when y'all play the Rams, it's not even close.
Yeah.
The Rams look bad every time. So
I agree.
I think styles make fights, and I'm gonna let you go crazy.
Hey, I loved all three of those takeaways, honestly. I absolutely love them, if that's the perfect word to use. You know what I'm saying? But those are great takeaways, man. Um, for me, my first takeaway is situational play calling and coaching will be will lead to success or the death of teams in the playoffs. Coaching has never mattered more than or should I say, coaching has been situational play calling and coaching has never been highlighted more than it has this season. From the Raiders game to my team, like you always talking about my team. Well, it's my team, so I guess I might as well talk about my team. And then other teams out there, I've seen it happen. For example, the Cincinnati Bengals and the Ravens game. John Harbaugh finally said, "Screw the analytics," and took the points and utilized the greatest kicker of all time, Justin Tucker. He had an eloquent interview after the game where he really broke down the science of the kick. He broke down the placeholder, you know what I'm saying, that they have now, and everything in the perfect hold. And so it was finally a situation where the Ravens had lost 5 straight home games, going into 6 home games. And he finally was like, you know what, screw the analytics, and we're going to take the points. And so now we look at the Raiders game. I'll swing it back to the Raiders game, like you just talked about. Me and you, we actually agreed that going for 2 wasn't a bad call. Now, I've been hearing people, lambast or whatever they, get on people's cases for the going for 2. I actually watched the game in the moment, and I think that what Josh McDaniel saw was the defense. It was playing kind of like up and down, but Mahomes was coming back. He was on a comeback, right? So he's like, okay, let me go and trust my offense because Jacobs is going. And it's not like he fell 2 yards short. He was really inches short. So
Right.
I can't even be mad at that. I actually like the play call. So situational play calling is key. So I think this year I've seen so many instances, Ralph, and we've seen so many instances where those calls matter. Anyone can be an armchair analyst, obviously, but when you're a coach, there is a lot of pressure and in using the guys. My next takeaway is the Steelers. A couple different things. George Pickens, I believe, and I'm going to say this right now, George Pickens will be the best receiver in the AFC by his 3rd year in the league. I think he's that good. I know it's early sample size. Cornerbacks are going to get a time to adjust, but I think he has the physical measurables, and I see that he has the hands ability to make spectacular catches, right? To the point where that's going to always be there. So, and he has a rapport clearly with Kenny Pickett. So I think as the season wanes, we're going to see that heightened yet again. I think that TJ Watt, this all ties into the Steelers. TJ Watt, they truly miss TJ Watt as a difference maker on that team. So, like Aaron Donald, TJ Watt, his presence permeates throughout that defense. When he's there and when he's not there, they continue to suffer. They had a banged up Minka Fitzpatrick. I understand that, but they weren't able to get any type of pass rush. So they're like, is it bad Steelers or is it great Bills? I think it's a combination of both. I think the Bills are extremely talented team, extremely talented across the board. Yet the Steelers, they're just reeling right now. And so I worry about Mike Tomlin because will this be Mike Tomlin's first losing season? So that's one. And then finally, there's a couple different things I could go here. I was looking at either going with a player performance because we had some amazing player performances, like Taysom Hill, which was dumb crazy. I didn't even get the chance to see the game, which is crazy. But I saw the stat line. I'm like, how do you do that? Travis Kelce, I thought, is he better than Gronkowski? Blasphemy. Do I want to go with that? Do we forget what Gronk was? I don't know, but Kelce just. But I'm going to go with the NFC. I'm going to kind of piggyback with what you said. I'm going to say it right now. I believe the NFC East will produce the Super Bowl contender. I'm not going to say champion just yet because it's still early, but I like what the Eagles are doing. I like what the Cowboys are doing. I'm not picking the Cowboys in the playoffs, but I'm just saying that if you have 3 4-1 teams thus far and they're all playing at a high level and there has been a coaching change, there has been some roster turnover, then it's not necessarily a fluke to me. I believe that the Giants incorporating Brian Dable, right, as a coach and coordinator there has really helped elevate a team that doesn't have much from the quarterback position in Daniel Jones. And you have a disgruntled Kenny Galladay, right? So I think despite all that, you have a Saquon Barkley as really your creme de la creme for you to be 4-1, for you to be able to win on American soil, then go across the pond and beat a Green Bay team led by Aaron Rodgers on UK soil. I think that says something. And then we're going to see what the Eagles and the Cowboys do in this matchup coming up. So I actually like the Eagles. I know you've mentioned Jalen Hurts as well, and MVP candidate. PFF, I know it's not the Bible, but they hit all the metrics from offense, from defense, secondary. They're going to get people like Slay and some other guys back. So I think the Eagles are just clicking right now. And, the Cowboys might get them, but it's a home game in Lincoln Financial Field. I believe that's the name of it's called. So I like the NFC East so far in the beginning of the first half of the season. So I think the Super Bowl contender will come out of the NFC East because some of these other NFC teams like the Rams, hangover, Bucks, no receivers, etc. So I like them, man. Yeah.
All right. Like Larry Holmes.
Yep. So let's get into some.
On to the next one, man. This list. Oh. So the NBA GMs give their list for 2023 season predictions.
Yeah, some interesting ones, some good ones, some weird ones.
There's some ones. So before I let you go.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
There's one thing that, like, for me is like, first off, they should have set a rule or a standard for what position certain players are playing.
I know some people were on like there 3 times. I'm like, what?
Luka was on there from everything from a point guard all the way up
to a guard. Right.
I was just like, hold up, wait a minute, time out.
You don't even shoot like that.
Yeah, Steph has like a 2 guard, and it's like,
yeah. He could play it, but still, nah.
He's third on the best shooting guard list. Like Bradley Beal is mentioned in the also received votes list.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. That's crazy.
It's number 1. Now, we've had this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with Devin Booker being the best one. Although I disagree.
Right.
you can't have him at 45%
That's high.
votes. And Bradley Beal got lost less than 17%.
But he's behind Luka, which makes no sense to begin with. But anyway.
Because Luka's number 2
right
on the best point guards list. And then he's number 3 on the best small forward list, which is wild, bro.
Hey, Luka must be LeBron all of a sudden. He play all positions now. Like,
like that's crazy. What's something that stood out to you, bro?
Okay, so I'm gonna say the Jokic thing. We talked about this, and I want someone. I want to make this clear because I had him number 2 in my player rankings going into this season. I actually think Jokic is phenomenal. But what actually stood out for me was they mentioned who is the best center in the NBA, and Jokic won an overwhelming 79% of the votes to Joel Embiid 17%. Giannis plays center at times with 3%. Last year, Jokic was 63%. So I understand he's a back-to-back MVP. But if you're a back-to-back MVP, but then Joel Embiid was vying and jockeying for position there with you last season, you can't have that much of a differential gap to me, because I think that Joel Embiid is a much better versatile defender. And even if you say, well, Jokic underrated, yeah, but Embiid literally can guard the perimeter, and that is where Jokic has problems. Even getting back, that's why they got KCP and Bruce Brown when they go up against the Warriors, because all that screen and ball movement, Jokic can't do that. I think Jokic is amazing, but for me, I still prefer give me like a 50-50 or maybe a 53-something split. The gap for me is not that high. That's my issue. I'm like, how did he get 79% of the vote? And I thought that was a little disingenuous, because even when I'll give you an example and I'll swing it back to you for another thing that stood out to you. Even in the 90s, you had Hakeem Olajuwon and you had David Robinson. Robinson, actually, all the advanced metrics said Robinson, but Olajuwon was cooking fools, and then he performed when it mattered. Right. So I don't think the gap between those guys was that big. So that stood out to me, Ralph, clearly. So yeah. What else you got?
Some other things.
Yeah. Off-season moves.
Yeah, it was some off-season moves. I expected Victor to get the best international non-NBA player. The one that number 2 had me like so happy because it was my boy, Nikola Mirotic.
Yeah. Wow, I was like, whoa.
Number 2, that's my boy. I still rock with bros.
Yeah.
It's like, how is Ben Simmons not on any of these best NBA defensive player lists?
None. No, well, he was also receiving votes behind Adebayo, Holiday, and one Kawhi Leonard coming off injury. So I would actually take, and I know, and this is me, I'm going to say it right now. I love Kawhi, but off injury, give me Ben Simmons. Shoot, I'll take Giannis. Draymond had, I put Kawhi over Gobert, but Ben Simmons, I'm actually going to usurp him these last 2 years over Kawhi Leonard.
Is this like best defenders or just like?
This says on the one I'm looking at, bro, it says who is the best defensive player in the NBA. Giannis is number 1 at 48%. Draymond is number 2. I think that's cap, but okay. I think he's good though. I know he's good. Gobert's 3. Adebayo, Drew Holiday, Kawhi, and Simmons and Wiggins. I think all those guys are better than Gobert, but that's just another situation. And that's with the tape that we showed. Yeah. Holiday's beast. Okay.
I feel that. With Draymond, though, I think the thing with Draymond, it's hard to argue because their team just won a championship.
Oh, yeah.
Defender on that team, and they play really good defense. So I think we're looking at production, leadership, how well the defense plays as a whole. Where if you pull it out, they obviously are not the same defense. So,
hey, Pat Bev's gonna be upset.
Hey, for real, he's not on.
He's like, man, I see that. He's like guarding Giannis.
Your defenders list.
Yeah. He says like Giannis is guarding you.
Not on that one either.
Yeah. Hey, you know who's not there? The Time Lord Robert Williams didn't get any receiving votes. But I know injuries, you gotta think about injuries too.
He's a heck of a defender, though.
He's a good defender. That's why I'm like, if you put Kawhi there, I would put Robert there.
They're gonna put Gobert up there, which is why nobody else is gonna get votes, bro. Gobert is getting 83% of the votes.
What do you think of the best head coach in the NBA? Do you agree with Spoelstra, or do you prefer Kerr, or maybe a Monty, Willie Green?
I say Spoelstra is the best head coach because he's just been able to do it with different stars.
Okay.
So, like, Kerr is benefiting from the fact that he still has Steph, Draymond, and Clay.
Exactly.
So once he has to then do it without those people, then I think that Spoelstra is definitely a better motivator.
Yeah.
Of people.
And that's not, and guys, disclaimer, that is not hate, because people say, oh, well, you always got to prove. No, that's actually a valid what's that word? Perspective or belief, or maybe a perspective where someone's like, okay, well, if he proves it to me, then yeah, that's sure. That's not, you don't always say, oh, well, he's saying because he didn't have a gutter team. I'm like, nah, like it's real. Being able to get most out of your players, like someone who's not there, who I believe is going to win Coach of the Year. We'll get into that on another show. Willie Green, I saw him getting the most out of his players in the playoffs, but as of right now, based off of, longevity and things, I wouldn't put him number one, but he might be on that top 5 list, next season. So when Ralph says, him having Steve Kerr, having Steph, someone that some of y'all say is top 5, it's valid perspective to say, I want to see if he can do without some of these guys. So
we can go on a little bit longer for this one, but for the sake of time, we're gonna go to this last topic. Something I've been ever since I just got done watching it, probably like 2 hours ago.
A word? Okay. You should set it off then. It's fresh in your mind, man.
I'm not even gonna lie, bro. Like, when I tweeted this too, like, I hated Kobe and rooted against Kobe for majority of his career. And I'm still watching them talk about Kobe, and I'm just like,
felt some type of way, man. It brought back them old wounds, man.
Tear up, and I was just like, dang, bro. So, like, I wrote down a couple things, like, yo, when he ran through Pau Gasol, and he was like, I'm about to run through his chest. He's like, I know if he was finna run, he gonna set the screen, and I'm gonna run through his chest. And he went out there and did it, but he like dropped the shoulder at the end, like just before too. I was like, yo, his intensity is unmatched. And like attention to detail was just like crazy. Like when they were talking about how they went out to the club, and then when they were coming in, Kobe was on his way to the gym or coming back from the gym, something like that. Because LeBron said something about him being drenched in sweat, but we know LeBron be capping because everybody
didn't add up.
Because everybody kept saying that he was on the way to the gym,
right?
And then LeBron was like, "Yeah, he was drenched in sweat." No shade at LeBron though. I just like poking little holes at little stuff though, because LeBron as well, attention to detail, the IQ, which is another thing. He was voted best IQ on that GM list, and so I think a couple of things that I wanted people to realize is like I love watching documentaries like this because you get to remember certain people that was like, yo, he was crazy good, like Dwight Howard. Back in those days, like 2008 Dwight Howard, 2008 Darren Williams. Like at one point we were arguing who was better, Chris Paul or Darren Williams. Where like that hasn't been a conversation that could legitimately be had in 7-8 years.
Right.
So like it's crazy to see just how good that team was. And another thing, because I don't know, were you there or did you ever hear about the conversation we had where I was talking about Manu Ginobili and like, could Manu Ginobili be as good as James Harden?
Yeah, I was.
And so if you watch the documentary, Kobe Bryant was in the league in his prime. Dwayne Wade was in his prime. And who were they talking about could possibly be the best 2 guard in the league?
Let them know, Ralph.
This from America all the way to the
Olympics and all that. Yeah, worldwide.
Worldwide, he was known as possibly the best 2 guard in the league. And Kobe had crazy worldwide.
Crazy.
Now, when they actually played, we seen who really was.
Right.
But when we're talking about my list, how I have Manu Ginobili so high, And other people are like, no, he couldn't do this. Like, he just chose to play. He chose to play a role on a team where he could have been selfless and went for 30 every night.
Right.
So that's one thing. And then another thing was how good that Spain team was.
Thank you.
Like,
Rudy Fernandez.
yo, Rudy was hooping, bro.
Played for the Trailblazers, man.
When he found out, I was like, yo, I was legit watching this like I had never watched it before.
Yeah.
But like I remember when they called that timeout with like 8 minutes and like 47 seconds left in the game.
Yeah.
I remember watching the game at that moment. It was like, they finna turn this up. It's a wrap. Like, yeah, y'all got it close. Rudy Fernandez out there dunking on people.
Yeah. That team was him, Rubio, Gasol, both Gasol brothers, bro.
Jose Calderon,
right?
Navarro.
Hey,
Navarro's runner was like, it was not missing. He was running. Yeah. He was hitting runners with right hand, left hand, floaters, 2-hand floaters. Like, and he was one of them dudes that was nice. He came over and was playing. They was gonna have him play for the Grizzlies, but the Grizzlies was trash at the time. He played one season with the Grizzlies and was like, yeah, I'm going back to Spain. He was like, yeah, I'm going home.
I'm going way back home, man.
Y'all not finna have me out here playing with this garbage. Look at this. Because that was like before they got Mark Gasol and Mike Conley.
Oh yeah. Before they became the Grindhouse Grizzlies.
It was just trash, bro. Just out here playing really hard, but not winning no games.
That was when Hubie Brown was coaching.
Yeah.
Losing in the first round and stuff, but
I mean, but go crazy.
No, I agree. I agree, man. To wrap up, I was gonna say, as someone who is the ultimate Kobe Bryant, guy and fan and etc., it was definitely bittersweet for me, but one thing that one of my major takeaways was that Kobe Bryant taught pretty much the top tier players, the entire 2003 NBA draft class, which was Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Carmelo Anthony and Chris Bosh, the value of hard work ethic, legendary work ethic. So until they worked out with Kobe, yeah, sure they worked, but they didn't work at that level. And amongst the stars, he was the ultimate alpha. And it goes against the grain of what the disrespect that some of the mainstream media has constantly, we've talked about, put on Kobe Bryant. So for them to highlight that, but also briefly touch base on why Kobe was the way that he was and the narrative surrounding around him. He wasn't this beloved figure. You know what I'm saying? That, Kobe fans, his peers, and Laker fans held him to be. He was really going through some stuff. So he was hard and he wasn't going to talk to certain people. So they actually shed light on that. Also, the fact that they mentioned your boy Dwayne Wade. I actually liked that they integrated this part that a lot of people forgot about. Dwayne Wade was coming off injury, having to rehab. He said, oh, they had to come see me. You know what I'm saying? They come see me. He's like, well, check, down in high school, down in college. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? I'm Dwayne Wade. So Melo's like, oh boy, came back, bald head with a goatee and number 9. He's like, oh, this is what we on? Looking like Mike Jordan. So Wade was a huge piece. I think he was actually the leading scorer, not Melo, for that Olympics, if I'm not mistaken, for the 2008 Beijing Olympics. And then Kobe had the clutch performance. So I like how they highlighted a rehab process for a star player and starter on that team of Wade's caliber. And then leading up to it, they talked about how they didn't have the killer instinct. They didn't have the chemistry. They didn't even know the game. So they had to learn the game of the international, playing with the ball, etc. Yeah. So they talked about that and having the troops underwater, protecting the cruise ship, and LeBron's like, yeah, we couldn't do anything the first time around. So, et cetera, et cetera. So I think just highlighting those moments was key. And then also the LeBron and Kobe dynamic. Kobe was the clear-cut best player in the NBA period at that time. However, I like the fact that LeBron did say, hey, while Kobe's this not tyrant, but he rules a certain way, no nonsense, LeBron being able to loosen the guy up. So it was like yin and yang. You need some of that balance. So even Kobe started laughing and things of that nature, as long as the mission was still there. So those are my 3 takeaways from the documentary. I could go into it more, but obviously, guys, watch it for yourself. And I really enjoyed it, Ralph. I really did, man.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 would recommend. I definitely
Yeah,
think
yeah.
you enjoy sports or just that whole story. Documentaries in itself, I think it's a quality documentary that highlights more than just basketball itself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But thank you all for watching. Make sure you tune in next week, same time, Knuckleheads. You know how we do. Spread the love like we always do. Peace out.